I love my boyfriend so much that I want him to go back to his ex. This is a throwaway account because I have workmates on Reddit too. Please bear with me, as English is not my first language. I met my boyfriend's ex, and I want them back together. I have been with my boyfriend for nearly a year now. Let's call him Danny, and he never talks about or nearly touches on the topic of his ex-wife, to me. The only thing I know about them is that they have a 5-year-old son whom he visits or brings to his home every weekend. His son graduated daycare recently, and invited him for dinner as it was the request of their child. Danny asked me to come, and although I hesitated at first, he insists on bringing me. Saturday came, and we went to house for dinner. I expected her to be a bee to me, but she welcomed us warmly. She's casual and very polite, and she even introduced me to their child. Her house is very welcoming, clean, and smells fragrant. It's home. I asked her if I could do something to help her prepare the dinner while their child and Danny were playing. She told me she could manage and told me to go ahead and bond with the boys. We had dinner, and she and Danny were very casual. Not too friendly, but not too salty. They're not distant either. Didn't say something that would make her uncomfortable, but rather asked questions about me and anything you could talk about during our first meeting. I know she's a good mother, as their son Ian is very polite, giggly, and well-behaved. I noticed how both of them will answer every question Ian asks, even if it's a silly question. I also noticed how Danny looked at There's sadness in love. I know it, as he never looks at me that way. When we're about to go home, packs me some food when I mention I live alone and always eat takeaways. This really touched my heart. I've been keeping it inside me, but I could no longer keep it and asked Danny how things ended when he had such a beautiful wife and a playful and well-mannered son. Danny pulled over, and I thought he'd want me out of the car, but he started to tell me that he cheated on her while she was out of the country burying her passed-away mother. The girl she slept with happened to be a mutual friend, and she secretly filmed them having sex and sent it to When went home, she calmly told Danny she knew it and slept in Ian's room. He didn't hear a word from her, a single cuss or anything hurtful. She just flatly said, "Serve the divorce papers, and I'll sign them. Just make sure I have sole custody and you have visitation days." Danny told me how he tried to stop her, but she didn't say a single word and completely shut him out. A night before he left the house, he heard crying and wanted to comfort her, but was afraid he'd make things worse for her. Danny hated himself that he never had the chance to comfort her while she grieved for her mom and instead cheated on her. He said is too good to be true, but that is not who she really is. Always available for her family and friends, and even for his family and friends. He'd cook for his friends while they watched football and had beer together. He visits his mom and dad and bakes cookies for them. Babysits his nephews, and she never once complains about taking care of Ian. She never nags at Danny and is very patient about everything. This is the first time I have seen him cry. He's a big man, and he's sobbing uncontrollably. He's apologized to me and told me he likes me and didn't use me to move on. This whole revelation didn't make me think that I was being used. I felt his pain, and I felt his love for his family. I asked him why he cheated, and he said he's drunk and doesn't even know it happened. After that night, he's still the same. But I am not. I felt like I was in the way. Is still single. She mentioned that she wanted to focus on raising Ian and pursuing her law studies. I love Danny, but I cannot compete with Should I break up with him and help him get back together with Update. I read all the comments and messages from you guys and appreciate all the good words and advice. I apologize if this raises a debate for some people. I only shared the information I knew during that time and decided to meet with and ask her side of the story. I also told her beforehand what the meeting was all about so as not to shock her and make her uncomfortable on the spot. She agreed to it, and we met at her house. Danny knows nothing about it. I told her why I was curious about it and what Danny told me. Everything. Looked sad. But she told me that as much as she wants a complete family for Ian, she could no longer see herself being with Danny. The best they can do for Ian is the parenting setup they have now, which is working for all of them. She said that at the time her mom passed away, Danny wanted to come, but he needed a visa, and it would take time. The funeral was all scheduled, and the processing of Danny's visa would delay her from seeing her mom one last time. She then told me that before she went home, she confronted the woman first, and she told her that they were both drunk and she didn't know she was filming. But it's kind of odd since the camera was positioned in a way that everything could be seen and steady. She didn't press her further, but she did hit her, and I won't go into details of the altercation. Danny did try to win her back and explained it to her over and over again, but all she could think of was the sight of him in bed, all no cloths with another woman, while she's grieving and forcing herself to be sane for Ian. She showed me the video, and it only lasted for 37 seconds. Their friend was on top of Danny, moving, and you could hear moans and rumbling. It never occurred to her that he was acid since, first, he never mentioned his friends would come over while she's out of the country, and second, Danny didn't even point it out to her. All he said was that he was drunk and didn't even know it happened until Mer showed him the video. If and ever Danny was acid, and he really felt like he was, Mer is willing to help him in any way she can. But the situation between their families will stay as is. She just recently found out that Danny cut out all of his friends completely when their divorce was finalized, but she didn't ask why and also tried not to engage with them as much as possible. Now we both think that it has something to do with what happened that night, and there is more to it than what Danny has told us. She said she's moved on and maybe Danny too, and they just wanted to be there completely for Ian while he's growing up. And there's no sense for them to go back to that time and try to change the outcome of their decisions when everything turned out fine. She told me that Danny introducing me to her and Ian just means he loves me, is really moving forward, and doesn't mean something else. She said that their relationship was far from perfect, but they managed to get as far as bringing Ian into this world because they worked things out the best they could. They sure had problems financially, emotionally, or as petty as Danny not putting his socks in laundry baskets or her not getting ready on time. But Danny cheating was something she didn't see coming. She didn't know how to react or confront the situation aside from ending it right there and then. She asked me if she could talk to Danny in private because Danny might still be thinking that she hates him and is still living with the guilt of hurting her in the worst way possible. Maybe all they need is a good closure, complete forgiveness. She assured me that Danny is a good man, and what happened to their relationship should not define Danny for who he is. It was a phase in their lives that should be left in the past, where it really belongs. She said that it was her own choice to stay single to focus on raising Ian. But that doesn't mean she's still stuck with her feelings for Danny, as most people perceive it. I asked her if it's a good idea to suggest therapy to Danny, and she told me she'll do anything she can to help if Danny agrees to it. She also told me not to force the idea if Danny said no the first time I asked. We both concluded that Danny is bottling something inside him that none of us knew. Regarding their mutual friend, she jokingly said that B got away with murder, referring to what she did to them. She said that the last news she had of her was that the mutual friend was no longer in town, and she couldn't care less about her whereabouts. It was wrong of me to think that they should be back together, not considering Mer's pain and the things she needed to do to heal. I apologized to her for making her relive this painful memory of her, but she told me that it's a small price to pay if it means someone else's peace of mind. You might be weirded out by my decision to stay with Danny, but Mer is right. What happened to them was painful. But there's nothing I or they can do about it now, and Danny is working on himself. I never once doubted his sincerity toward me. If all else fails, then joke on me. But I love the guy enough to give our relationship a try. I will try to talk to him and help him heal too. I agree that I should not compare myself with her. She is indeed an amazing woman we all aspire to be and deserves the best life has to offer for her and Ian. P.S. To the people who said that Mer could have set this all up, she said, why would she ruin her son's chance to have a complete family for an easy way out? Thank you to this community. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for watching the video.